Hey everyone, welcome back to the So Wizard podcast rundown of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies, 10th Anniversary Edition. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us grow our audience, and you're not going to want to miss the rest of this list. Number 98 on the list is 1942's Yankee Doodle Dandy. This movie has actually been on 6 of AFI's best of lists. This movie goes so far back in Warner Brothers history, it was actually produced by one of the Warner Brothers. It was bound to happen, and I didn't think it would happen so soon, but I had not seen this movie prior to watching it for this video. I was actually a bit skeptical going in. Not that I doubted the movie was technically good. We all know the name James Cagney, even if we hadn't seen any of his movies. I was skeptical because musicals generally are not my thing. When I hear something's a musical, I imagine most of the plot is driven through song, and all the background actors get involved in those songs with elaborate dance numbers, and it really just takes me out of the movie. I understand what the genre's for. I mean, obviously that's what the genre is for, but it's not my personal taste. This has all been a really long way of saying, if you feel the same way as me, you can put those fears aside. And if a black and white movie is stopping you from watching it, well, first off, shame on you. Second off, there is a computer colorized version available. I went with the original. And because these movies were all shot on film, they clean up great for our modern technology, though it is still in a 1:37 aspect ratio and mono sound. Yankee Doodle Dandy is less a musical in the sense I was just describing, and more a biopic about a song and dance man. I didn't know it going in, but James Cagney's character, George M. Cohen, was a very real guy. Cohen's life is generally how the movie made it out to be. I'm sure it wasn't all, roses and sunshine, but in 1942, America needed a pick-me-up. We also needed a shot of patriotism. It's funny how the more things seem to change, the more they stay the same. I actually found I fell into the wholesomeness of the story and the likability of Cagney's portrayal of Cohen. Even when Cohen was down, he kept his sunny outlook on life. I also liked that his family never turned their back on him, and he never turned his back on them. There are beats in the story that I feel like more modern telling, or maybe a more honest telling, would have exploited for some of the gut-wrenching twist moments, despite how things actually went down. One of the main bookends of the plot has Cohen being summoned to see the President of the United States. Cohen was sure he was going to be reprimanded for portraying the sitting president, FDR, on stage. The performance wasn't even the slightest bit insulting. What a great time. Of course, the Hollywoodization of the real-world events is real. Going back to the 1940s, movies were very much about escapism, even more so than today. Also, take into consideration World War II was looming over everybody's mind. An escapist biopic about a patriotic Irish-American immigrant, or descendant of immigrants, who lifted morale through 2 world wars and the Great Depression, was needed a lot more than a story about a playwright, his divorce. Divorce was a much larger scandal in that era, too. The events were compressed for the sake of narration, all of that stuff. This is nothing new or old in filmmaking. Cohen was on stage from an incredibly early age. His family was billed as a quartet traveling vaudeville troupe. Cohen became an incredible playwright and specialized in comedy musicals. It was shocking of how many Cohen songs I was familiar with, especially since musicals aren't my genre, and I didn't even know Cohen was a real guy. The 2 standout numbers are the titular Yankee Doodle Dandy, written by Cohen in 1904, and Over There, written in 1917. Every kid grows up knowing some version of Yankee Doodle Dandy. Over There, a song steeped in patriotism, had a resurgence as recent as 2001 after the terrible attacks on September 11th. Talk about staying power. James Cagney is a Hollywood legend. It seems he was born to play this part. Cagney, like Cohen, started his career as a song and dance man. His style of half singing and half reciting the lyrics matched Cohen's. He was also an Irish American. He was also a patriot. He even had a similar look and build to Cohen. One place where the 2 men differed a bit was in the style of dance. Cohen was a bit more stiff-legged in his approach. Getting this detail right was incredibly important for the production. Cagney worked with a man named Jack Boyle, who was part of many of Cohen's original productions and worked with Cohen personally. Cagney threw himself into the dancing. He sprained his ankle twice and broke a rib doing a number, but managed to finish without missing a beat. Cohen was still alive during the making of this biopic. He was sick with cancer, so his involvement was somewhat limited, but he did get to consult with Cagney himself and the production team directly. The movie was given the incredibly appropriate release date of July 4th, 1942. Cohen was actually born on the 4th of July, as Yankee Doodle and the movie say, and the movie drips with patriotism. Warner Brothers was kind enough to bump up the gala premiere of Yankee Doodle Dandy to May to allow Cohen to see it before he died. Cohen approved of the movie and Cagney's portrayal of him. It's a good thing Cagney approved, because he was the one who chose Cohen to play the role. Fred Astaire, another Hollywood legend, actor, singer, dancer, is said to have turned down that role. Warner Brothers knew what they had when they approved the $1.5 million budget. This wasn't an unheard of budget at the time, but you'd have to imagine that given the state of the world, some execs were sweating through their suits. To put it in perspective, that's the equivalent to almost $24 million today. By today's standards, that's hardly a budget at all. I've seen conflicting reports on what it grossed, somewhere between $6.5 million and $11.8 million. Quite a bit of disparity there in the numbers, but either way, the movie was a rousing success. I'd have to think that there wasn't a massive international audience at the time. I don't know Hollywood's history on the exporting of entertainment worldwide, but the whole world had other things going on. It's also a very American narrative. Yankee Doodle Dandy was nominated for 5 Oscars. It won James Cagney his one and only gold statue. He won for Best Actor in a Leading Role. Well deserved. It also won for Best Sound and Best Music/Best Movie Scoring. Unsurprisingly, given the subject matter. Doing a best of list from the prestigious American Film Institute means a lot of good watching. It was a lot of fun to discover this gem that I probably would never have checked out on my own. It's an incredibly uplifting movie, and it delivers a shot of patriotism, optimism, and lightheartedness we could all use right about now. Well, that was Yankee Doodle Dandy, number 98 on the 10th anniversary edition of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies list. Come back next Friday for number 97, Blade Runner. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more. Also, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. So Wizard Podcast can be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple bonus episodes. It really helps support the show. Also, make sure you go to SoWizardPodcast.com for reviews, recommendations, all new merchandise, and more. We love hearing feedback, so leave something in the comments or drop us a line on social media. All of our accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes.